Phantom Doubleday Dell Audio Publishing presents The Running Mate by Joe Klein. The Running Mate. The event at the Elks Club ended at dusk, and they headed west into the countryside. She was surprised by the drama of the terrain. The rolling hills were steeper than she'd expected, and perfectly proportionate, the chocolate soil fresh and fecund. The sun was setting between pilasters of cloud, which were less delicate than the casual coastal puff she was used to. They were bigger, heavier, like the heroic thuds of mashed potato that had been deposited on their plates at the Elks. And yet the sunset colors were as subtle as the clouds were dramatic. No pollution-induced fuchsias out here. There were streaks of canary and tangerine, rising to a robin's egg blue, then fading into a navy night. "Great sky," she said. "Why?" he asked. "Why?" She turned to him, wrinkling her brow. "I just want to see what you see," he explained. She brushed a hand along his cheek, which was sandpapery with early evening stubble. "All you have to do is look more slowly." Just past dark, they stopped at a picket fence at the end of a long dirt road, after endless rolling miles of corn and soy. Straight ahead was a simple white farmhouse, over-illuminated by halogen crime lights. There was a red barn to the right, and corn all around. The senator slid open the minivan door and jumped out. "I need to talk to you," he said, taking her by the wrist gently but firmly, leading her along the driveway path. She resisted, in part a visceral response to being tugged, but also a consequence of her khaki skirt, which was long and cumbersome. He yelled a greeting, "Hey, Tom," in the general direction of an elderly heavyset man in coveralls who was ratcheting himself with some difficulty out of the rocking chair on the porch. "Take it easy, Tom," he quickly added. "We'll be right with you." And he pulled her abruptly into the corn, several rows in so no one could see them. He stopped, turned, put his hands on her shoulders. She sensed their unevenness in the dark, the right hand strong, the left a shadow of a presence. "Okay," Charlie Martin exhaled. "Okay. Will you marry me?" "Marry you?" Nell Palmerston was suddenly breathless and laughing. No?" She was, she realized, imitating her daughter, for whom every statement was a question. No?" He imitated her imitation. "No? As in for real no?" Actually, he wasn't surprised. A simple yes would have been astonishing, perhaps even slightly disappointing. Nothing was ever simple with Nell. "Why the hell not?" "Because," she said, catching her breath, "you're in campaign mode." "Oh, come on," he said, trying to see her through the tasseled shadows. "I'm in the middle of a campaign, so what?" "You're completely caught up in this thing. I mean, it's Saturday, and we were out there all day, and tomorrow's Sunday, and we'll have to do it all day then, too. And my role? Comatose devotion, perpetually amazed by your brilliance. 2 days of it, and my face hurts from smiling. When do we go to the beach? I saw a lake today. People were swimming. Can't we go campaigning in a lake? It looked so nice. We drove right past it on our way to, where, the Fort Diddy-Bop Burrito Festival? Or was it the Firehouse Bazaar in Grove Corners? "It was the Fort d'Antrobe Burrito Festival," he said. "And if you were having such an awful time, why did I have to wipe the salsa off your chin and drag you away from those women you were yakking with?" "Well, they were quilt makers," she explained. "Oh, I see, quilt makers." He debated whether to tell her that it just wasn't politic to get so deeply embedded in a conversation on the hustings. The rest of the crowd might feel slighted. He returned to topic A. "Can we negotiate? Should I try again? You want a knee?" he offered. "Seriously?" she asked, chuckling. "A knee, as in down on one knee?" "Absolutely. Not really. I've given you all the corn I could muster," he said. "I put a lot of thought into this proposing to you here." It was sort of fabulous. Looking straight up, she could see a brilliant night sky with the same sliver of moon the cow jumped over in nursery rhyme books. The rich, damp smell of the soil was intoxicating. Charlie could see her eyes now, calm and gray-green, and her coarse tangle of blonde hair. Nell could see his mouth. But not his eyes, and that was a disadvantage. She had fallen in love with his eyes. He was holding her hand. He kissed the inside of her wrist. She touched his hair, which was thick and black, tending toward gray rather aesthetically at the temples. "I'll bet this is where you used to take all the girls," she said, haying. He did like a good cornfield. He thought about corn all the time in Vietnam, especially when he'd passed through a stand of bamboo. Bamboo creaked in the wind. Corn swished. In Vietnam, he'd sometimes found himself drifting here to Uncle Tom and Aunt Leia's place, just outside of Fort Jeffords. The corn backed up to the edge of their yard on all sides, and so he'd brought Nell to Tom and Leia's to propose to her in the middle of their cornfield, after the last event of the day, a roasted chicken dinner with the Fort Jeffords Future Farmers of America at the Elks Hall. A cellular phone in the distance. "Hey, Senator," shouted Mustafa, his driver. "Headquarters. They got the numbers from tomorrow's RW." Nell sighed. "See," she said, "campaign mode." Mustafa was leaning against the van. He was, Nell thought, a strange specimen. A tall, middle-aged black man who chain-smoked Virginia Slims, thin and angular except for an incongruous pot-belly. He handed Charlie the phone. "Who?" Charlie asked. "Aunt Mary." It made sense. Mary Proctor ran his home state office. She knew all the poobahs of the Register world. She'd have their poll numbers first. "So, okay, Mary," he said. "Cut to the chase. What's the story?" "You're behind. Only a couple of points, margin of error," she said. "But behind." "To that little turd?" he said. "No fucking way." "As my granddaughter would say," Mary said, "way." One of the first things Nell Palmerston had noticed in the den of the Martin family home in Des Pointes, everyone just called the place Oak Street, was a laminated copy of a Life magazine article from June 1968. A hero comes home. And there he was, young, skinny, black hair closely cropped, left hand heavily bandaged, but smiling. And those eyes. Even in black and white they were deadly, she thought, almost feminine. Without them his face would have seemed irreparably harsh and masculine, slightly pockmarked, a good face for a soldier or a ball player, much too severe for a politician. The eyes made politics possible. The life story hung on plywood paneling surrounded by family photos. The photos dominated the room, not just photos of the hero politician's son, but of the hero politician mother and the charming accordion-playing dad. The den was the most lived-in room of the house, containing what appeared to be the family's three most significant pieces of furniture: the console television, Charlie's father's lazy-boy recliner, and a spinet piano. There was also a couch, side tables, and lamps, undistinguished department store early American style, and bookcases filled with Book of the Month Club selections. The story was about a return from Vietnam. One photo was of a parade with the hero standing in an open car, tentatively waving with his good right hand. Another was of Charlie being given the key to the city by a big-boned prairie woman with a sweet, small face. The caption said, "Captain Martin receives the key to the city from his mother, Mayor Clarice Campbell Martin." Another photo captioned, "First Family of Des Pointes." There was Charlie, arm in arm with his wife, Johanna, a very serious-looking young woman with rimless eyeglasses and an acute back-to-the-barricade sort of beauty. According to the text, Charlie was a much-decorated Marine, just released from the Philadelphia Naval Hospital, where he'd been treated for wounds suffered in a landmine explosion southwest of Da Nang. The article went on. Local Democrats are already talking up the possibility of a political career for young Martin. "He's a natural," said Patrick Dunn, chairman of the state Democratic Party. "He's the kind of kid who, soon as you meet him, you think, this guy's going to be president someday." Bobby Kennedy died the week that came out, Charlie said, coming up behind Nell the evening after she had rejected his marriage proposal. "I remember," she said. "Where were you?" "In Paris." "Negotiating with the Vietnamese? The Paris peace talks?" "Negotiating with Chanel," she said, "for a summer job." "As a model?" "Too weird-looking, too irregular," she said. I was a kid. I was willing to work for free. And it turned out the price.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?